which I'm gonna do lyrical name that tune. I usually don't do that with you all, but I'm gonna. So this is so this is like if I give you a line, if you can name the song, you get a high five, an imaginary high five. This is a line that is deep in the song, which most people won't get probably. There's water at the bottom of the ocean. Can anyone name that tune?
Tears for Fear.
No.
David,
Bill
Tears
gets it
for.
wrong.
Ah, damn it.
Anyone else? Okay, this one will be a more line that people recognize. This is not my beautiful life. This is not my beautiful wife. Anyway, Bill's got another guess.
Talking Heads for sure.
It is the
Heads.
Talking Heads for sure.
Absolutely.
Same
You
as it
gotta-
ever was?
Yeah, well, yeah, but the actual song is called Once in a Lifetime.
Oh, okay.
But part of the insight is that something, well, he's talking more about existential dread, but like kind of the waking up moment, like, my God, how did I get here? Like, you've lived your whole life, every day you've been living, and all of a sudden you have that thought, like, oh my God, how did I get here? Like, everything looks strange. You ever had that happen? When the word that does it to me a lot is the word often, but sometimes prepositions do it to me. It's like, this is the dumbest word I've ever seen. What do you mean of? OF? Like, what the hell could that mean? You know, like, all these things are like, where all of a sudden things look strange, right? So in a way, if you want to understand David Byrne's lyrics, a lot of it is coming out of him writing about the 80s, right? Thinking that things are pretty effed up, right? And he's kind of having that kind of, he's an artist and whatever. But has anyone ever seen the movie Razor's Edge? Bill Murray, way back when, right? So in Razor's Edge, it's a cool movie. You know, it's a book by Somerset Maugham, and it's a good book. The movie's pretty good too, but it's it's kind of around World War I and what happens to a happy-go-lucky guy, and he ends up going to India and coming back, and his friends are making lots of money, and he doesn't quite fit in, and it's really intense, right? It's a good book, but there's a scene where, in this, I actually write about this. Believe me or not, this has to do with yoga, right? I swear to God, right? Again, it's David Byrne's fault, right? So he is kind of first going to India, and he's trying to find a place to stay, and he gets on a houseboat. I wrote about this in the Fatally Flawed book that sits finished on my computer, right? But he sits on the he's on this houseboat, gonna stay there, and this guy's cooking for him, and the guy's washing the dishes, and he just assumes that he's like down and out and doesn't have any money. Bill Murray does, and he thinks, well, I hope they pay you well enough. And he goes, oh no, you see all these boats here? I own them all. And Bill Murray's like, what? I'm paraphrasing, but what? You own them all, and you're making me food and washing my dishes? And he goes, yeah, I love washing dishes. It's a spiritual experience. Okay. And then, and Bill Murray goes, damn, because he's kind of on this quest trying to figure out why humanity would be slaughtering themselves in trenches. And some guy died to save his life, and he can't figure out how, right? Like, why the guy would have sacrificed his life to save Bill Murray, right? So he's kind of messed up by someone that saved his life. And so he's trying to, and so he gets down and looks at it, goes, and in quintessential Bill Murray ways, he sits in the houseboat and starts doing the dishes in that kind of lounge singer kind of energy that Bill Murray's so good at. And he says, oh my God, I think I can feel it. Yeah, I think I can feel this is a religious experience, right? And it's funny. And then later in the movie, or maybe I just imagine this, at the end of his quest, he comes back and is washing dishes again. And he's changed, and he's doing exactly the same action, right? So he's changed. And he, instead of just kidding about it being a spiritual experience, he kind of gets it. And yet the action and the doing is exactly the same, right? So can someone see the obvious analogy between, that's not so obvious, between David Byrne and the Bill Murray story? Right? That all of a sudden, right? Self-realization doesn't necessarily change the world. It changes your interaction in the world. So the fact that people want to go, oh, because I'm self-realized, I get to have this, this, and this. No, you still have to wash the dishes. And you could have in one moment, you could have, you know, the same word looks strange. You could all of a sudden go like, how did I get here? That kind of, that moment that David Byrne is writing about is how mental awareness can become unmoored from life and all of a sudden question everything. And, you know, say, this is not my beautiful life. How did I get here, right? Because that's what mind can do. Mind can disconnect and question and doubt. And you forget that when you go through all those matriculations, dishwashing, hey, how did I get here? There's still water at the bottom of the ocean. It always was water. You know, right now, there's like a bottom of the ocean and little creatures that can't see under extraordinary pressure are living and hunting without any kind of vision. Like, and it's still water down there. So for me, a yoga practice comes full circle. You go through all this stuff. One of the things I just wrote in my book was that yoga is not a body of knowledge to attain. This book I'm writing now. It's a methodology that reveals, right? And that it reveals that it's the same as it ever was, right? And you're changed. And don't look for self-realization to be causal. I can tell you my process of self-realization has not always made me happier. Started then taking a big look at the world, right? And you go, holy crimes, what's going on, right? But the truth is, it's the same as it ever was. So notice your exhale. Remember, I don't want you, when it comes to self-realization, you know, and supposedly yoga helps self-realization or whatever, and it's this kind of thing that seems ethereal, and we tend to think about it too mentally. But I've been studying asana because it shows you self-realization from body to mind. So like, for example, I kind of hope, I'm going to call out Angelique right now. She lives with a spinal cord injury too. I hope after the years we've been hanging out together that she really does more deeply believe she can push through her paralyzed legs, right? Right? That prana actually pervades both mind and body. And for her to realize, and for all of you to realize that you actually do belong as a yoga student and that yoga's for you, is not a social justice truth. It's a self-realization truth. There's a lot more happening here. There's a lot happening here. And we tend to think of self-realization as a psychological thing. I think it's more powerful. And I study yoga. I think that's powerful too. I think yoga, and especially asana, starts to reveal what self-realization feels like between when Bill Murray washed the dishes when he was joking about it and the imagined time he would wash it later. That something's changed. And only he gets to know how much. You don't get to prove self-realization. You get to live it. So with that stuff, start letting your mind drop on a Monday towards the earth. In order for the earth to be realized, this is Richard Fleeman saying this to me, he read an ancient text, a yogic text, in order for the earth to be fully realized, something has to drop towards it. It's so massive, we take it for granted, right? So much so that human beings try to pretend that we have dominion over the earth. Like, what the hell? There's a really dumb idea, right? The earth owns our minds, right? We're not the original owners. It created our minds, right? So drop down, let something drop. That's the only way the earth can help you rise. And the earth will help you rise, just like roots in a tree help the tree go up. Earth will help you rise. So exhale, do the things you need to do before you make it asana. Let there be a drop here. But don't have your mind indulge in the heaviness. Start to feel the core channel rising so it lifts your chest. So hopefully that clarifies the sensation on your sitting bones, right? Hopefully that makes you feel your feet more because you've let it drop and you're letting the earth rise through your pose. You're the weaving between the earth and the sky. Another line from an ancient text, like somehow you are the conduit, right? So as you lift your chest, let the shoulder blades drop a little bit. Let the inhalation expand the torso. The core channel rises from the earth. Something's dropping towards the earth. Right now, those might just be thoughts for you, but the yogis are whispering that they're true. And I can tell you from my practice, it's true. It's happening. Something's rising and something's falling. How to become a conduit of the simultaneity of the rise and the fall. That's part of what asana is about. Soften in order to feel the drop and make it be light, soften the inside of your mouth. The mind actually dreads the drop. So you have to do some things to soften your mind so it receives what's true. So you got this core channel rising, lifting your chest, right? Exhaling, you're following the drop while you're keeping your chest lifted. And then, because Engar, I've been using this line lately about your ears have to remain receptive and your eyes have to be passive. Huh? Yeah. Keep hearing the world. Let it come to you without trying to hold it with your mind and your eyes. There's a difference between the two. It's part of the rise and the fall. So as the spine keeps growing from the earth upward, the floor of your brain, right by your eyebrows, needs to drop down into the silence of the drop as the spine rises up. The empty space was never empty, it's also full. Use it in your yoga poses. Bring your hands into prayer if you can and stay balanced. If you can't, it's not that important, right? But it helps you find the midline and it helps you work more equally from side to side, right? When I start to connect the heel of my hand, something happens. When I open the center of my palm, no, I'm putting my elbows on my table. Something's happening. I'm coming into greater alignment. I know how to let the midline unfold the drop and support the rise. What? Yeah, the midline is the rising part, but the rising part supports the drop. Your mind's just not used to letting it be simultaneous. Soften the inside of your mouth again. There's water at the bottom of the ocean. This was always true. Again, the floor of the brain's dropping. The spine is animating. Feel the space around you in the room. Feel the sides of your neck, the ears. Feel it all. This was always, always happening. There was water at the bottom of the ocean. There is water at the bottom of the ocean. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good, and then release. Take your sternum on, more activate now. Your sternum up towards your chin, a little bit stronger. Drop your chin down so the brain actually surrenders down as the fire rises up, which is the beginning of shoulder stand, which is the queen of all yoga poses, right? This bandha is in shoulder stand, Sarvangasana. It matters. Breath into each nostril, each lung, each sitting bone, each foot. All of it breathes. Don't push your breath anywhere. It's already happening. Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. All this from the talking heads? Yeah. Yeah. I live with all sorts of things. You should too. Right? Right. All sorts of your little stories that make you remember that there's more happening here. So we're moving around because you know why we do this. If you've been coming, we want to feel some lightness in the body. So we're shifting gravity because gravity shifts on your base, which here's your sitting bones, right? And your feet. Gravity shifts are integral to yoga poses, right? It makes the mind have to realize asana is an attempt to become congruent with what's happening in a way that includes your body. But if you try to inflict asana onto your body, you're going straight to hell. Okay? Body, I'm taking my legs wide now. Asana goes from body to mind, and this is what the mind doesn't see. The way the body teaches the mind, it doesn't teach the mind in a way the mind can be confident about it. Like, what does taking my legs wide teach me? Damn, that's hard to describe, and I feel kind of stupid talking about it, right? Except it does, right? There are things about the body, right, that the way it informs the mind, it takes time. Mind actually resists the presence that's guaranteed by the body, right? So I'm trying to get my spine to be separated from my legs, right? So the sensation, this is what happens in standing poses, right? Is you want to get the feeling of your spine to be distinct from the feeling in your legs. You want to get the sense of your spine being able to extend and lift as the legs are going down and being strong. They're being strong to help your spine go up. The rise and the fall are simultaneous. So right now we're also, by going from side to side with our legs wide, right, we're actually also opening the groins, right? The base of the spine. So I've got pressure going down on this leg, my spine going up, but I'm actually trying to till the soil at my groins, which is right near the base of my spine, so I can get a sense of lightness and buoyancy. So I'm popping a little bit here, right? I'm kind of doing a little bit of like, wait, I'm buoyant here. That the down energy and the up energy need to differentiate before they can combine. Right? So bring your legs back together. Right? Come back to the midline. So, and maybe, I don't know what phase of yogic realization you're at, right? But when you tell a beginner to lift their chest, this makes a lot of sense. They do it from their chest, right? They go, oh, okay, oh, I'll lift from my chest, right? And that tends to come from the low back. So you use your low back to grip, so you can lift the chest in isolation, right? Because that's what the instruction was. Except, how do you lift your chest from your legs? In a way that's not just imagination. Because yoga is going to actually try to always have you do it from more places, right? So I'm going to get this. Remember, I really believe that for us that are sitting a lot, that the space in your low back really matters. So this time we're lifting up again, or trying to let our sitting bones be heavy. And we're lifting up. So we're creating like space in the low back. Because remember, the space has to be informed by the earth, by the ground, right? So now I want to go down. So I'm leaning forward on my thighs just a little bit. So I want to accentuate the down because I'm trying to train my mind to listen to different sounds, right? Different sounds, I call them sounds, but like, so I'm going down to get the grounding energy. And I'm going to lift my chest, but I'm trying to do it from my sitting bones first. So I could be forward like this and just lift my chest, right? That'd be how the mind would do it if it wasn't doing yoga, right? Instead, I'm going to come forward. I'm going to hit down through my sitting bones, and I'm going to, as I hit down through my sitting bones, I'm going to travel as if I could from each vertebrae up from the tailbone, up, and then get to my chest. And then I'm going to really try to broaden across my chest, across the collarbones. But to really do that well, so check this out. So here'd be another mistake a beginner makes, right? Is that, and this is an instruction we give to beginners because it's an easier instruction. So as you lift your chest, you say broaden across the collarbones, but if you just try to broaden across the collarbones, doesn't that make you grip your low back? Right? You actually, that's not really the instruction, but it's the beginning instruction, right? So instead, so let's all do it wrong for a second, like come forward and then lift your chest, and then just go, like you're broadening across your collarbones, right? No, this time we're forward. We're gonna listen to the earth because I'm forward, so something drops to the earth. Then I'm gonna try to hit my sitting bones down, right? So I can start to and try to go slow up, quote, each vertebrae as my sitting bones remain planted. But as I go up each sitting bone slowly, I'm not to my chest yet. As I go up through each sitting bone, find your legs more. Each time you go up a vertebrae, go down farther with your legs. And then when you're getting to the chest, now broaden between the shoulder blades. Watch how that makes sure the earth comes too. Right? And then breathe. Which is a very different thing, and then release. It's a very different thing than just lifting under your collarbones. Right? All of this stuff is part of the dishwashing that looks the same on the outside. Inhale, take your arm up. So technique is only, it's not like Bill Murray's technique got way better in the dishwashing when I contrast what I imagine, right? So technique only can show you a little bit. You can get better at stuff, and that's what asana does. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve, right? And I'm trying to force is too, not quite the right word, but I'm trying to get some of the energy to move through my spine more when I twist. So, and then across. So here, before I start lifting my chest too much, I'm going to go down with my sitting bones, and I'm going to start hitting again slowly up. So in order, as you go up from the tailbone, up each vertebrae, you're going down at the same time. So you're auguring towards the earth as you're making space between the vertebrae. You catch it in the chest, you broaden across the collarbones. So I haven't even told you to twist yet. You should be really quite twisting, right? Right? And now inhale and make a little bit more space with your inhalation. Make the emptiness full. And then exhale as you extend your spine on exhalation and revolve a little bit more. Good. And then come on back to center. So the ocean that already had water in it was your body, right? There's water, there's self-realization at the bottom of the ocean, right? And unfortunately, when you live with a disability, you forget that your body's an ocean. Take your legs wide again. You forget that your body's an ocean because it doesn't fit into the world quite right. Or like it used to. Right? What the hell's going on here? Thought we were talking about the talking heads. So I'm leaning over, I'm getting my spine, and I like this one on Mondays. I like getting bigger in space. So I'm leaning over and I'm going down to the earth. And I'm making sure my legs are going down to the earth. And I'm getting bigger in space. And depending on how much clarity you're capable of, shoulder blade goes in, palm opens. You do all those actions to fill your legs more, right? Because you're actually unified. Good, and then come on down. You're actually unified, right? What the hell? No matter what your body does, the very core sensation is the same. That's one of the really deep things that asana is teaching you. Can you tell which side you do better? I do the other side way better. I got work to do on this side. Good, and then release. So you're actually unified with what? Everything, right? Coming forward again, because I want to keep rhythm here, because when I start to realize I'm unified with everything, it kind of freaks me out, right? And I actually don't want that in crowds of people. My mind doesn't have to be unified with everything in order for it to be true. Off to the sides again, right? Trying to get buoyancy between my spine and my legs together. Lift up again. I'm going higher this time. Ooh, that little traction in the vertebrae there. And then the collapse, the return to the outside world, right? The weight of my disability, the dysfunction with gravity. Not here, my friend. My spine gets to hang here, right? I'm going to keep it because I like having memory as I go back into the collapse. Keep my chest lifted, right? My chest in more planes of time. I want my chest to stay with the freer part of my spine. And maybe some of you have one side of your body that works better than others. Maybe it kind of pisses you off. Really? Really? It pisses you off, does it? That's too bad. It's understandable. If you can't take one leg off, if you can't, try to cross one leg over another. If you can't, doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get more input for my body, right? For my mind, pardon me, from my body. So variation in yoga poses are actually for a dull mind, right? So the poses get more complicated. So a dull mind has to be thrown into different worlds, right? But you can get even here, like even pushing out on one knee like this. In some ways, you're going to learn more from that than from this, right? But remember, mind's like drama, right? So wait, I'm going to grab each side of my leg. So if you're having your leg down, grab maybe like one knee and one shin. So you're changing the variation from side to side, right? So if you're grabbing one like right above your knee and one shin, what I want is the variation. If you're up here, right? I want you to grab here and here, changing your base and figuring out, okay, I'm going to push in, I'm pushing it on my hand a little bit. So even if it's down here, right? So if I'm doing it on my shin, let's say, like I'm pushing here, right? And I'm trying to lift my chest. And I'm trying to go down through the straight leg as I'm varying my base this way to help me lift my chest. But when I do this, did anyone forget their sitting bones? I know I did. Must be teaching a weird class. I keep losing people. Right? So again, I'm practicing symmetry, but the trick for me is, can I still go down the midline of Tadasana, even though this leg's in a different position? So even if you cross your leg, you could do it. And what I want you to do is to make sure you're processing the down leg, right, as you're crossed, right? So damn, in fact, that feels way better when I bring my knee in. So I'm going to choose to hold this knee in Tadasana, hold this ankle, and lift up. If I were down here, I'd let go of the down leg. I'd keep this leg in Tadasana, and I'd grab the other knee. Just figure out how to get your spine, how to be supported, right? So now I'm going down, I'm going up. I'm kitty wampus with all these different positions, but it's the same. It's the same as it ever was. And it's different. It both is and is not your beautiful house. Breathe. Good, and then release. Other leg. Oh, different. I can already tell how this groin's tighter, right? So this groin's tighter. Doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means that this groin is tighter, right? So again, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but however position you got on the first side, what you're trying to do is create a different base for the lift in your chest. So from a horizontal movement, right, we're practicing verticality. From horizontal to vertical. Why? Because it's in every yoga pose. It's how you bring the earth into your poses. You don't bring the earth into poses when you reach skyward. I'll say a lot more of this in a second. Right? So I'm pushing it on the vertical. I'm giving boundary on the horizontal, pardon me. I'm hitting down through my sitting bones. I'm practicing the vertical this way. I'm hitting it this way. And I'm lifting my chest and breathing. Good, and then release. I'm going to stay longer on this side because this is my tight side. I'm going to come forward a little bit if I can. So even if you have your legs crossed, right? When you're in a new space, start changing gravity, right? So even if it's just like this, or even if it's just down on your pedal, change gravity when you're in a new world, right? Because that's the only way your dull mind starts to listen to it, is to notice the variation, right? So I'm in this one, I'm coming forward a little bit more because I can tell this groin is tight. So as I come forward, I'm going to lift my chest, right? Yeah. And then, of course, when I follow the drama of that, guess what I did? I didn't press down through Tadasana and the down leg. Apparently, I'm not a perfect yogi. Forward, up, down through the midline. Good, and then release. So has anyone ever wondered, I know hopefully it makes intuitive sense, but have you ever wondered why I'm always talking about from the inner groin to the inner knee? Right? To the inner heel? Right? Because we're going to do the same thing. And hopefully I'm going to instruct it wrong, right? Because I like instructing wrong, as you know, right? And I'm going to try to tell you to go stretch from the outer side of the leg down to the outside of the knee, and it won't be nearly as effective, for crying out loud. So I got my leg up or crossed or whatever, right? Right. And I'm making sure, remember, we're trying to do this horizontal and vertical, right? So got something horizontal, got something vertical. So like if you were to like take this principle of horizontal and vertical and you can't move your legs at all, you could take one arm horizontal and make it have a horizontal piece and one arm straight. What really matters is the horizontal unifying with the vertical and the vertical unifying with the horizontal. It doesn't matter which body part, right? The dishes are being washed either way, right? So I'm, yeah, so like if you, in this position, if I, at least for me, if I try to stretch from the outside of my hip down to the outside of me down to my, I don't nearly get as much traction. Right? So there's a reason why it's always instructions when you're sitting in a chair that's more in the midline. Right? So I'm pushing back on my foot. So here's like a yoga pose that's happening in real time. So I'm coming forward and putting my foot back this way, creating reference to this horizontal line as I lift my chest, as I hit down through both sitting bones, as I hit down from the inner groin to the inner knee down to the inner heel. And then I take the space between my shoulder blades and I broaden it. And then I broaden across my sacrum, but I try to maintain Tadasana down the inside edge of my leg. I hope everyone's finding this super easy. And then release. I'm joking. I hope you're finding it hard. Yeah. Other legs up. Or crossed. Or your arms are crossed. I don't care. Right? It's horizontal and vertical. Right? Our minds aren't so good at going horizontal. Right? We think about vertical all the time. All right, so here to here again. Right? Coming forward, and I can see that I'm gonna just, you have to visit, like I get nothing if I go on the outside of my down leg. I gotta like have my midline suck my thigh towards the midline. I want to help it a little bit. I'm going to push on my outside of my leg and get it in there just for a second, right? I'm going to create reference on the horizontal plane. I'm going to use that to both lift my chest and extend down the midline of Tadasana. Breathe. Oof. In this position, on this side, I breathe better into one lung than the other. Good, and then release. Dog pose, either on your legs. So now we come back to a more knowable position, right? That you've earned from all the practice you do on this in this class, in this position, right? If you can get your hands out a little farther, right? You can put your hands against your knees like this. Right? I want your arms to be engaged or on the table, right? Actually, in some ways, I get my spine more activated when I put my wrists against my knees, right? But what I want you to get is the underside of your arms to go up as you drop your shoulder blades down. Right? Now broaden the space between the shoulder blades. Broaden across the sacrum. Extend from the inner groin to the inner knee down, but keep extending your energy through your sitting bones down to the floor. So don't let all of the energy go to your legs. Keep the vector from your spine being forward, going straight down into the floor, right? Find where your legs are, broaden across the sacrum, find the vertical line, find the horizontal lines, vertical going up, horizontal going across, right? Drop the chin. Look down at your table or the ground, because dog pose has the eyes down towards the earth, not rising towards the sky. Kind of weird, but in dog pose, traditional dog pose, it's your sitting bones that are going towards the sky. So right now I'm telling you to put the sky where the floor is. Reach into openness. Wash the dishes again to extend your sitting bones down towards the sky, which is actually the floor. Breathe. Good, and then release. Sit up so I'm bouncing around a little bit, because now I feel this kind of, I want to remember a whole bunch of stuff. So we haven't done any back pain. I want you to open, right? So this energy, if this energy can find, if the center of your chest can find an affinity with the sky while not losing the earth, you're going to be happier. Nah, it can't be that simple. What if it is? But a lot of people try to have the affinity just between here and the sky. No, you have a body here for a reason, right? So you need to have the down. So I'm leaning forward a little bit. I'm taking what we just did in dog pose and I'm hitting my sitting bones down toward the ground. I'm lifting my chest up. I'm making sure I go all the way down to my feet. So I'm doing a version of dog pose right here. And I'm breathing. And I'm making sure my head isn't screwing up the pose, right? That I actually include my head in this spectacular thing that's happening. Soften the teeth, the lips together, teeth slightly apart. Be active in your pose and soft on the inside of your mouth. Ground your sitting bones. Good, and then release. What the heck? Legs wide again, right? Can you make a triangle between where your knees are and where your tailbone is? And then can you make sure that where your knees are, that part of the, let's call this an isosceles triangle. Because hopefully your femur bones are about the same length, right? So these lines from the tailbone in the center, right? Out to the knees here are supported by your heels, right? So make this triangle. Draw a horizontal line. So you got this triangle, but then this part of the triangle has to connect. How am I going to connect that part of the triangle? Maybe I'll hit down through my heels. And as I hit down through my heels and lift my spine, maybe I'll have this, remember this. So the triangle becomes a full triangle. And now this all busts away if I collapse my spine. So if you were doing this with a collapsed spine, tis, 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 right? Make the triangle down to the ground. Let the circumference of your rib cage be informed by this triangle. Make sure it stays on the earth. There's empty space in here. I'm pushing down a little bit on my femur bone so I can remember the earth. Now I can, there's my damn habit. My head tilts. Right, so I'm going to try to balance that off. Now you mean there's a space, a line between where each foot is? Absolutely. Line between each foot, between each knee, between each sitting bone, as you're rising up and going down. Horizontal meets vertical. Vertical meets horizontal. There was water at the bottom of the ocean. Good, and then release. Forward, lean, twist. Right. So I got an armrest here, so it's great for me. Right. Forward, lean, twist. So now what about all these? How do I keep it down as my spine twists? How do I keep it down as my spine twists? As I'm being open? Well, keep it down by keeping it horizontal. Don't just follow the vertical, right? Keep broadening across the sacrum, lengthening the spine, revolving, keeping this open. The space between the shoulder blades broadening as you hit down to the earth and up through your spine, and you're adding a twist. Good, and then release. So what I like about doing it with a little leaning forward is that there's more earth and more gravity in the pose, right? So I'm going now this way, right? And I'm figuring out how to, so I'm forward a little bit, because if I go behind the balance point, right? I don't have the earth as much. So I'm coming on the front edge of my sitting bones. And as I do, I'm pressing down even more to the earth here. Right now I've got, you can see my hands naturally going to my back leg. I want to keep the earth as I revolve. I want to keep the earth by keeping horizontal across the sacrum, between the knees, between my feet. I want to vertically extend my spine and twist. I'm trying to have the universe feed me through the twist. I'm not just trying to twist the universe. I'm trying to open doors in the twist. Good, and then come on back to center. Right? You want the twist to feed your spine, not your spine to twist the universe. Come back to midline. So I'm coming back and bringing my legs together because I want to start coming home now. Right? So as soon as I bring my femur bones in together, you know, sometimes some of you should practice a class with your legs belted. Right? Although if it gets too much, then unbelt your legs, because it's a lot of energy coming through the circuit if you're constantly actually in Tadasana. Right? So I'm doing this. Right? And I'm trying to learn from making this more straightforward, this vertical, I mean horizontal. Remember, this is horizontal too now, right? So the thing about sitting is you've got vertical, horizontal, and vertical, right? And you want them to feed each other, right? So my spine's like this, my femur bones are like this, and my feet are like this. And they're supposed to work together. Right? So I'm going to go down with my sitting bones, and that's part of what I'm always saying, inner groin, inner knee, inner thigh, inner heel, because I want you to get the vertical piece in the horizontal piece. And lift your chest. And then this feeds the horizontal, which feeds the vertical. And there was water at the bottom of the ocean, and your body shows you self regardless of how much you can physically do. Balance your head over your neck. Catch yourself making mistakes. Like I just caught myself slightly rotated and heavy into my right sitting bone. So I'm adjusting. So although it just looks like I'm washing dishes out here and sitting in my chair, oh, I'm not. I'm seeing stuff. I have a perpetually rotated rotation in my spine. That's why all this happens. So I'm derotating, finding vertical. And it looks like I'm just sitting to the world. Second time Bill Murray's washing dishes. Still washing dishes. I'm still sitting. Let your breath expand your spine. Let your body come into the world as you let go of the breath out. So expand it, extend it on the exhalation. But even like do all this with the bottoms of your feet too. Make sure you don't forget that there's water at the bottom of the ocean. Like your feet were still in the pose and the skin on the bottoms of your feet were actually still there the whole time. Try to remain open. Don't reach for the bottoms of your feet. Just let them be included. Good, and then release. Isn't it great that you don't have to be in charge of whether your breath gets to the bottoms of your feet? That blood's doing it for you. That our system is built to make sure that oxygen continues to make it to the feet. And you don't have to be in charge. But you tend to forget that there's water at the bottom of the ocean. There was always water there, right? All you're trying to do is become congruent with what the body's already solved. The body's already solved life force through your entire body. And somehow we think our mind's in charge, right? Like, oh, mind's got some really cool ideas. Body's happening. Feel symmetry because we're preparing for Savasana. You're trying to let your body now get its empty spaces nourished. However you do it, symmetry tends to help. Feet, sitting bones, each lung, each nostril, each side of your head. Because you want to have it, the support of your chair, which was always supporting you this whole class, by the way. You actually want to let it in. You want your mind to stop denying the fact that it hasn't been in charge, right? That the chair has been trying to help all your poses. Chair, movement, earth, sky, vertical, horizontal. I don't have to be in charge of all of it. I can just be grateful. It's all happening. With and without me. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. I can't help but feel a little grateful. So the outside of my mouth actually often goes up a little bit towards my ears when I realized that it was happening without me this whole time. That I'm just passing through. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Thank your body. Thank it again. Start to bring yourself back. Slightly deeper inhalation. Slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes. You don't want to close them, go ahead. And then open them again.